Welcome back, you all, to CHD 203, Chapter 5, Vocabulary Development and Instruction. Early literacy is enhanced when vocabulary develops naturally through social interactions and as children experience their daily routines. Vocabulary is a collective sum of words and phrases arranged in the English language to communicate meaning. Children's vocabularies are based on who they are and their relationships in the world. There are four categories of vocabulary development: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Children's listening vocabularies are much larger than their writing vocabularies. Children understand and use more words when listening or speaking than when they are writing or reading. Vocabulary involves memory, which means like you're storing and then retrieving words, and comprehension, understanding words, utilizing stored experiences. Children learn vocabulary by adding new words into their current schema or into their prior knowledge and conceptual framework. Children's vocabularies increase when reading widely in a variety of genre. Children's literacy development depends upon interaction, which is speaking, listening, reading, and writing, with caring adults. Researchers estimate that middle-income American children may hear 30 million more words in their first 3 years of life than children from lower-income families. To close this gap in word knowledge, literacy programs such as Parents as Teachers, that's something we have in Eufaula, maybe Hippie, are providing training programs where literacy specialists visit homes to teach parents with young children essential literacy skills. A strong vocabulary is essential for reading comprehension. So let's talk about the concepts of vocabulary development. Vocabulary is an important component of an effective literacy program, which also includes phonemic awareness, phonics, comprehension, fluency, and writing. Vocabulary knowledge is directly linked to reading comprehension and conceptual knowledge. Children need a strong foundation in print knowledge, which is letters and sounds, and word knowledge, which is sight and meaning vocabulary, to understand text, or basically to understand what text means. Children should be self-confident, active, and independent learners to become successful readers and writers. An environment that supports children's cognitive, social, emotional, and physical development is important for early literacy success. Children increase vocabulary through word immersion. Words are everywhere, and children's awareness in a print-rich environment contributes to vocabulary development. Reading aloud to children and independent reading are effective strategies for expanding vocabulary. Word knowledge is directly related to reading achievement. Words are meaningful when they are related to children's daily routines, such as waking up, playtime, nap time, eating, and bedtime. Having a solid vocabulary base will enable children to understand and enjoy reading in various genres of children's literature. The more they read, the stronger readers they will become. So what we're saying is we really need to expose them to various genres. But what is genre? It's different types of text. Fiction, nonfiction, autobiographies, biographies, ABC books, wordless picture books, all different types of text so that they're not always concentrating and always reading one specific type of text. The three main paths to vocabulary growth are life experiences, vicarious experiences, and explicit instruction. Life experiences include everyday routines like going to the beach or going to the grocery store. Children increase their reading fluency when they practice poems or songs through choral reading, these vicarious experiences that can happen in the classroom. And although vocabulary words are learned best through natural experiences, sometimes explicit or direct instruction is necessary to introduce specific types of vocabulary words that may be unfamiliar to students, such as academic vocabulary. And academic vocabulary words that are specific to a certain content area, like science specific words, math specific words, social studies, and also explicit instruction in words that have multiple meanings. Okay, so we really want to make sure that we're focused on that, and we do that explicitly with intention. Okay, so in order to do that, there are 3 tiers to vocabulary instruction, to explicit vocabulary instruction. And we call these tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And you will, as a teacher, when you begin to look at books for children, you will start to think about the words in this relationship. Is this a tier 1 word? Is this a tier 2 word? Is this a tier 3 word? And where should we be concentrating our instruction? Okay, so let's look at tier 1. Let's look at what tier 1, 2, and 3 words are. Tier 1 consists of words acquired naturally through everyday language. Tier 2 words are words that appear frequently in a variety of texts. And tier 3 words are associated with academic language or reading in the content areas. Selecting appropriate words for explicit instruction, and your explicit instruction is going to occur in tier 2 and tier 3, okay? Because remember, tier 1 words are just words that they're naturally going to get anyway. So we're going to explicitly teach words from tier 2 and tier 3. Okay, that's where we're going to concentrate our efforts. Teachers should consider the importance or the utility of the word, how it relates to other familiar words or ideas. Because remember, we want to make sure that we're able to link these things to some prior knowledge, to their schema. Remember, things that they already know about. So we want to make sure that we are looking at that prior knowledge and how can we link that word, okay? So I've given you right here a example. There's a wonderful book that's called Bringing Words to Life. And this is from that book. And Bringing Words to Life is all about vocabulary instruction. And it's about how do you choose words, okay? How do you choose words to teach children? So they want you to think about it in the terms of a layered birthday cake, okay? So tier 1's on the bottom, tier 2 in the middle, tier 3 is the cake topper, okay? So tier 1, remember we said these are words that we're going to use in our everyday language and everyday speech. These are typically learned through conversation. These are common words that rarely require any kind of direct, explicit instruction. And it gives you some examples like come, see, happy, table, things that children already know because of conversation. All right, so let's look at tier 2. Remember we said tier 2 are high frequency words that occur across contexts. These words are used by mature language users and are more common in writing than in everyday speech. So you're going to see these in print more than kids are going to hear them, okay? Tier 2 words are important for students to know to enhance comprehension of a selected text. Tier 2 words are the best words for targeted, explicit vocabulary instruction. Examples of those would be like hilarious, endure, despise, arrange, compare, contrast, okay? These are words that children must know the meaning of in order to comprehend the text, okay? These are those high frequency words that you're going to see a lot. Now, do not confuse them with the very tip top, the tier 3, okay? The top of the cake, the topper. These are low frequency words. You're not going to see them as often in common text, okay? And they're usually limited to a specific domain or specific content, okay? Meaning a content area. Like these are your science words, your math words, your social studies words. Words like atom, molecule, metamorphic, sedimentary, continent. Those words are best learned in context of the lesson or the subject matter. Like to try to teach the word sedimentary out of context without reading a book about rocks and ground to children would make absolutely no sense. Okay. The word environment, those types of words, those are those tier 3 words. Those are associated with a specific content. And remember, those tier 2 words are the words that if you don't know them, it's going to completely to enhance. I mean, your comprehension will be enhanced by knowing those words. Okay, like the examples they give are perfect. So just think about this chart. I'm going to actually print this off for you, and you'll have this in class as well. So it's a good graphic, and I like it. It's a really good way for you to think about words that you come across in children's books that you think would be good vocabulary words. So let's keep going. There are 2 main types of vocabulary that children must learn to be fluent readers: sight words, sight vocabulary, and meaning or content vocabulary. Children memorize 220 to 300 sight words in their early years. Okay, we talked about sight words last chapter. Sight words are words that appear frequently in beginning reading text, and they typically have no meaning individually and can rarely be decoded. Sight words, which are the foundation of literacy, facilitate the connection process of words to meaning. Okay. Exposure to sight words through repetition in reading and writing assists children to establish these neural connections. So what is meaning or context vocabulary? Well, certain words are critical to the meaning of the passage. To read fluently, children need to comprehend the text. Word knowledge is the foundation for comprehension. Identifying meaning vocabulary in text is an important skill for beginning readers. Meaning vocabulary consists of key words that are important for comprehending the text. A print-rich classroom environment motivates young children to read what they love and love what they read. When reading a book to the whole class, the teacher can use a sense of dramatic play to bring books to life for new children. So let's talk about vocabulary strategies for young children. Vocabulary is the key to improving reading and writing skills. And so there are 6 components that we can say are part of an effective vocabulary instruction. And they are respect, humor, novelty or innovation, touch, movement, eye anchors, and validation. So let's talk about just a little bit about that. Reading and discussing things, any kind of text set that you may see is a way to effectively promote students' vocabulary development just by reading and discussing a text. When we say respect, what we mean is that in a successful learning environment, teachers must respect learners, learners must respect teachers, and learners must respect each other. And this will create a safe learning environment and encourage literacy skill development. Your book gives a great 3 great suggestions about humor, novelty, and innovation, about the out of this world hat, the sentence squeezy, and the vocabulator, which I love that one. And so take a look at those. The sense of touch encourages a love of word knowledge through direct sensory experiences. One example is teaching children about proper nutrition by making and eating healthy snacks. Teachers can also make a texture box with a variety of objects that appeal to the sense of touch, sight, smell, and hearing with a matching set of vocabulary cards. Using this texture box, learners are encouraged to increase their vocabulary by exploring real objects. And that's part of the key, is that we are connecting a word to a real object. So sometimes it's called realia, but connecting that word to an actual object. Of course, we know that movement is going to facilitate the learning process when we bring in props, costumes, all of that, allowing the children to move about the classroom, going outside to do some reading or writing. Those are just going to be encourage them to move some. Eye anchors are actual objects, photos, or cards with written topics that help to keep children engaged and on task. They're kind of like charts, okay? An anchor chart. Sometimes you can put them, they're small and you can put them on the desk, or like I said, they can be in a chart, like hanging on the wall. Object, labels on objects, those are a form of anchor, eye anchors, okay? Like labeling, like we did in our classroom. Validation supports the children's decisions and affirms their actions. All children need praise, and teachers must tell learners what they are when they are doing something well. Perhaps the teacher makes an announcement in front of the class or praises quietly the child. Either way, children need that validation. So let's quickly talk about English and vocabulary instruction for English language learners. Learning new vocabulary and a new language presents a challenge for young children, especially English language learners, or you may call them ELL students. All young children benefit from repeated exposure to new vocabulary. Labeling items in the classroom with clearly printed cards is a simple technique to help young children, including ELL children, recognize new vocabulary words. And one thing I want you to recognize and realize with vocabulary instruction for English language learners is that it's really no different than what every young, early, emergent learning student needs. So you can basically, what you're doing for your English speaking students is exactly what you need to be doing for your English language learners, because they really go hand in hand. Routines for building vocabulary skills are effective in the ELL classroom. It is important to set up structured time each day to introduce new words and practice the new vocabulary in different situations and contexts. You can write and draw in a journal. Which is a creative and effective way to work on writing habits, but also develop vocabulary use, because the child can draw the object and then write some sentences to go along with it. We can use some environmental print. We connect some visuals with the text, and that's when I was talking about that realia, those real life objects. They're especially important for your ELLs to promote that early literacy development. So it's good to bring in that real object. So an example might be if you were trying to teach an ELL student the word apple, you might provide an array of apples, not just the red apple, but the red apple, the yellow apple, and the green apple, okay? Because we don't want our ELL children to think that apples are only red. So we got to give them that array of apples for them to explore with their senses, so they can touch it, feel it, smell it, maybe even taste it, okay? And then they will begin to match that word apple, the vocabulary word apple, with the actual realia, okay? Using wordless picture books. We're going to do some of that in our classroom when we go through this chapter, so that you can see exactly what a wordless picture book looks like, but also how it can enhance English language skills. There are many ways to assess a child's knowledge of vocabulary in context, by just reading passages or writing samples, and in isolation through just giving them a word list. Teachers should use a variety of assessments to measure the complex layers of children's vocabulary knowledge. So not just one way, let's use a variety. And I believe that's it. Supportive and nurturing learning environments promote vocabulary development. Effective strategies and practices involve a variety of text, which might be or genre. Remember that word: books, magazines, newspapers, in fiction and nonfiction, for multiple purposes: informative, persuasive, and enjoyment. Building a child's vocabulary supports fluency and comprehension. So thanks for joining me. I know this one was a little longer, but I appreciate it. And I sure hope you learned all about vocabulary instruction, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in class. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.